Lights, camera, and action.
Welcome to the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast.
Remember those childhood movies you loved? We're going to watch them again and find out if they're still as amazing as you remember. Let's get ready to join Anna and Jimmy as they go back and watch those movies you remember being oh so awesomely good. Horror movies that scared. Comedy movies that dared.
Damn!
And action movies so preposterously ludicrous that they defied the laws of common sense. Now, here's your hosts, Anna Santos and Jimmy Coates.
All right. Okay. Welcome to the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. This is our second movie of our double feature. All August, we are doing double features, our drive-in special. And we just did Stand By Me. Now we are going to preview Do the Right Thing, 1989. What do you remember by Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing?
Okay. I'm going to preface this by saying I think the last time I saw it was probably the mid to late 90s. It has been a long fucking time since I've seen this movie. I remember liking it, but not liking it that much. Rosie Perez is a fucking star, and she always will be. I love that woman. It's got a really stacked cast.
Yes.
And it's Spike Lee. He's always a little off the beaten path. So this wasn't like something that I was necessarily used to in my movies. So I remember being excited about it. It was new. It was different. And it was definitely very urban. And it felt very like neighborhood. And I could recognize that also because my neighborhood was just beginning its gentrification process. So it kind of, I was like, I know how the neighborhoods change and I know how it like shifts over. So I really identified with that too. I remember liking it. It was new. It was exciting. It was different. It was not like a lot of movies that I had seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts? What do you remember?
Yeah, well, 1989. I don't think I saw it in 1989. It would have been a couple years at least after that. I do like Spike Lee movies. I don't like all of his movies. Sometimes his movies miss completely. But I remember liking this movie, and I remember because of the stack cast.
Yes. Danny
Aiello was awesome.
So good.
But there are so many familiar faces I remember in this movie. But I do remember liking it. I remember I know it wasn't. I know there was the big ending that was horrible. But I remember. I think he tried to. It wasn't just one-sided. It wasn't just white people are dicks, which made it a little more easier to watch
as a white dude.
Yeah, especially as a white dude. Watching movies where how horrible we are as white people.
I mean,
even to other white people,
kind of valid. I'm just saying,
like Braveheart and stuff. I mean, like,
yo, white people have been doing like white people shit for centuries, for millennia. Yeah. We've been fucking shit up all over the world.
Yeah, we're pretty good at
giggles. It. Yeah,
we found our groove and stuck with it.
Right. So they're gonna make movies about us. They're gonna be like.
But I remember it wasn't just one-sided.
Yeah,
I could be wrong, but I remember it being. It wasn't just the white people. And I don't know if there is actually, because I know the Italians that own the pizzeria. Yeah. So I don't know if there's like.
There were some Asians, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say Korean. I don't know if they actually were.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The shop owners.
The shop owner. So I mean, it was
from a lot of different POVs.
From a lot of different perspectives. And it was very much a look at New York and really multiculturalism. And how you put these people together and the shared animosity. Like everybody's got animosity for everybody for all the various slights and the things. And everybody's like, this is my neighborhood. And this is my home.
Yeah.
And everybody else has that same like vibe going. At least that's what I remember. God, it's been so long since I've watched this movie. But that's what I remember most about it. Like, I remember it's just a lot of people fighting for their neighborhood and fighting their neighbors for their neighborhood, which don't make no goddamn sense.
No.
Have a block party, eat some pizza, eat some dumplings, have a party. I don't understand why everybody got to be angry.
I like how you avoided saying anything for the black people for food.
Well, I was going to say soul food, but I don't remember if this neighborhood is in Harlem and that's where you get the best soul food.
I think it's
In New
Brooklyn.
York? Is it Brooklyn? I don't know.
Yeah,
where
I think
to
so.
get good soul food in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know either, but I hear, is it in Brooklyn that they have really good Trini food? Ooh, let's get some Trini food. But Trinidad is very multicultural. Like, it's not just black people there. There are also white people, Asians, like it's Indians. It's a very so it's really hard.
As a white man who doesn't hang out in Brooklyn, I won't suggest any foods that the black people eat in fear of being yelled at or canceled. Let's go.
I could tell you a really hilarious. I'm going to tell you a hilarious story after we record this.
After we record it, so it should be good.
After we record, it's really funny about like accidental like racism, and it makes me laugh every single time. But it's not like malicious racism. It's just unconscious bias. Like, you don't even realize you're saying it until it's out. It makes me laugh every time. But
Yeah,
anyways,
I've done that. I've done that for a lot.
We've all done that. We've all done that.
All right, so here is the box office for Do the Right Thing. With a budget of $6.5 million, the domestic was $27.5, and actually that's supposed to be international, 9.7, with a worldwide of $37.2. Again, not huge money, but obviously profitable.
Very profitable. The numbers for domestic makes a lot of sense, because you also have to remember the audience was like US, North America in 1989.
Yeah.
This was almost revolutionary. You weren't getting perspectives like this in film at that time.
No. And actually the 90s, as goofy as the 90s could get, it really did start, because it was Do the Right Thing. It was a lot of his Spike Lee's movies, but it was like Colors. It started to really look at that.
Yeah.
But when you think of the 90s, you think of like, well, Sandlot and Beethoven and all these silly Home Alone type movies. And the 90s was very silly, but it did usher in a lot of cool violent movies, action movies, and multicultural movies. Movies about multicultural.
It wasn't just a bunch of white people with a token minority.
No.
Not all the time. There was still a lot of that. Thanks, friend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there still is. Like, come on.
Oh, fuck yeah.
It opened in 353 theaters and at number 8. It opened the same weekend as Karate Kid 3 and Great Balls of Fire. It had competition from Batman, the first one, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Ghostbusters 2, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and Dead Poet Society, all of which had 1,100 to 2,200 theaters. Do the Right Thing peaked at 534 theaters and never gained any spots higher on the top 10. It was out of major rankings by week 6, but stuck around for a total of 26 weeks.
Okay, yeah. So if you add racism and those other movies into the mix, no wonder this didn't do as much money in theaters as it probably should have.
I think they knew that they were going to make some money. I think they knew that giving this movie 2,200 theaters was not going to do it any favors. Especially, and when you look at that lineup, like you talk about Batman, Indiana Jones, Ghostbusters, Karate Kid, that's a lot to
like, those are all movies that we're all still watching to this day, that parents are showing their kids.
Yeah.
Like, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh, that movie's awesome. I remember being
so
awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
So great. So then I think about it now and I'm like, fuck, people are showing their kids that shit and over and over again. So I mean, people were taking their kids to the movies to watch that. It was during the summer, so gotta do something with your kids.
So it did pretty good, all things considering.
Honestly, I'm kind of impressed with the numbers it got.
Yeah,
with all of those movies in there, I'm impressed.
All right, let's take a look at the tail tape. All right, June 30th, 1989 is a drama. It's rated R and comes in at an even 2 hours. There's our VHS copy. I miss VHSs. Not watching. I'm sure they look like shit, but
I do and I don't. That's
yeah,
it.
because
That's all I'm gonna say.
the box part of it's cool, but like, and the
Yeah.
tape is kind of cool, and the please rewind sticker that the movie stores would always put on it. Be kind, rewind.
Fuck, I love those.
And you're like, why do they do that? And then I remember walking into, and there was a guy, and he's like, fucking, and he had this stack of VHS tapes that he had to just rewind. Like, oh,
I was
that's
so
why.
I was so anal retentive about that. I'm like, no, you gotta rewind. We gotta rewind. Like I was
Yeah.
like, I'm not gonna make them mad at me. That was my thing. I was like, I'm not gonna make them mad at me.
Some places started charging you like $1 or $2 if you forgot to rewind.
It was intense, yo.
All right, taglines. It's the hottest day of the summer. You can do nothing. You can do something, or you can ...
Do the right thing.
Okay, now I remember these three guys. I remember them being really funny, and I know those. I know two of them. I know the middle guy and the guy on the right with the blue hat. Like, fine.
Yeah.
Am I that old now? I'm the old guy sitting off to the side having a coffee.
I'm totally
That's
the
black
old lady.
me.
They look familiar.
And I like his shirt and pants. Actually, I like the middle guy's shirt and pants.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm old.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, that was it. That was the only tagline.
That was you know what though?
It's
It was
fine.
perfect.
Yeah.
It was perfect because it goes right before where you can do the right thing.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Synopsis. Salvatore Fragioni. He's Italian. Danny Aiello is the Italian owner of a pizzeria in Brooklyn, a neighborhood local. Sorry, Jesus Christ, bugging out.
Giancarlo Esposito.
As soon as you said it, I remembered. Becomes upset when he sees that the pizzeria's wall of fame exhibits only Italian actors. That's right. Bugging out believes a pizzeria in a black neighborhood should showcase black actors, but Sal disagrees. The wall becomes a symbol of racism and hate to Bugging out and to other people in the neighborhood, and tensions rise. Right.
I mean, I get where the disagreement is.
Here's the poster. And it has the hottest day of the summer. You can do nothing. You can do something, or you can. And then it has do the right thing. There are feet standing off the side. You don't see anything else, but you see Danny Aiello by a car. Spike Lee. I remember he's the delivery guy holding the pizza box, and the little girl writing chalk on, and it's a Spike Lee joint. Actually, I like the poster. I remember seeing this poster all the time, or seeing the DVDs and stuff.
I really, really like this poster. And it was also the reason why I first looked up 40 Acres and a Mule. I was like, that's an interesting name for a production company. I wonder why. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's go to the tail of the tape. Oh, I didn't do the thing. Oh, well.
It's okay.
Oh, no. Oh, did we already do this? We already did this.
We already did that. Yeah.
We already did that. I already did the.
Now we're tomatoes.
Now we're going to Rotten Tomatoes, and surprisingly, not a ton of hate. Dislike.
Yes.
No, not a ton of hate. I was like, here we go. Actually, I was more afraid of IMDb than Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh yeah, no. IMDb just lets it all hang out.
This is impressive. 110 critic reviews, comes in at 92%.
Awesome.
50,000 audience, comes in at 89%. Again, very good.
Very impressive.
Critic consensus: smart, vibrant, and urgent without being didactic. Yep. Do the Right Thing is one of Spike Lee's most fully realized efforts and one of the most important films of the 1980s.
Which I think is saying something big.
All right, we'll start with the positive reviews. You may start.
I'm ready. Utterly singular and potent. Adam Kempenar, film spotting 5 out of 5.
Ooh. This is, and seems more than ever like, the great American movie of the last 30-odd years. Rob Gonzalez, Rob's Movie Vault, A+.
Spike Lee offers no solutions, but confronts us with the facts. The audience is left with no doubts about the authenticity of the story. Wendy Ide, Times, UK.
Do the Right Thing is an exceptional film, a movie that wisely deprives you of the cozy resolutions and epiphanies so often manufactured by Hollywood. Like the film's principles, you are left feeling that you have been torched where you live. Carrie Rickey, Philadelphia Inquirer, 4 out of 4.
This might sound like a depressing story, but the level of performance and filmmaking is so high that Do the Right Thing becomes a most entertaining warning. Gene Siskel, Chicago Tribune, 4 out of 4.
There's only one way to do the wrong thing about Do the Right Thing. That would be to ignore it. Peter Travers, Rolling Stone.
Comes closer to reflecting the current state of race relations in America than any other movie of our time. Roger Ebert, Chicago Sun-Times, 4 out of 4. Damn. These are some deep reviews.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Please, I want to like it, but don't make me think a lot.
Sucks to be you. I have a feeling you're going to think.
I know. And contemplate.
Yes, and maybe have an existential crisis.
Yeah. My mind's going to argue with itself. Here are the rotten reviews. Lee cagily provides a litmus test for racial attitudes in 1989, but he does so by destroying the integrity of his characters, black and white. Richard Corliss, Time Magazine.
Interesting. Sure, the movie opens up the racial problems of everyday life in New York, but it also has a very forgiving tone to what one could label as the oppressed. Kevin Carr, 7M Pictures, 2.5 out of 5. Interesting.
It's depressing to see how much credit Lee has been given simply for painting his characters in shades other than the purely good and the purely evil, as if the gestures reflected anything other than an appreciation for a basic human truth. That almost sounds like a good. Did I read that?
No, basically what he's saying is we're giving Lee his flowers just because he doesn't stick to basic like
good and
villain
bad
hero stereotypes.
David Kerr, Chicago Tribune, 2 out of 4. That's your problem. You're in Chicago.
Dave seems bitter. If Lee is saying that racism is profoundly painful, frustrating, and confusing, no one will argue. But this film states the case without offering any insight. Ralph Novak, People Magazine. Ralph is a white dude who wants people to hand him the answers.
Yeah, I've been there too. Art cannot be art unless its hero has an antagonistic worthy of him. Mookie is unfit for the challenges simply because if Sal is not without his flaws, Mookie is without anything else. Murray Kempton, The New York Review of Books. You're a book reviewer. What do you know?
When he started talking about the hero and antagonist, they have to be worthy, I was like, the fuck you talk? Have you never watched a movie?
Yeah, no, he reads books. Go to your book, nerd.
Hey, I'm a book nerd. Fuck you,
Did you say that one or did I read that one?
I think you read that one, so I'm going to do this one. For all its apparent roughness, Do the Right Thing is aesthetically very sophisticated, particularly in the first half. But at the end, it collapses both aesthetically and politically. Jeffrey Noel Smith, Sight and Sound. I have a feeling Jeffrey's a white guy, too. That wants answers handed to him. No.
1989, I think they were all white dudes reviewing.
I mean, a lot of them probably were white dudes.
IMDb, the voice of reason. This is where I expected a lot more hate on this one, but I was surprised. 114,000 user ratings comes at an even 8 out of 10.
Oh, that's pretty much on par with Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah. You may start.
Spike Lee's best work, a mind-blowing masterpiece of cinema. 10 out of 10, Maddie Matt Forever.
Brilliant dramedy with a shocking finale. 9 out of 10, Hannibal Chigurh.
It's like slowly bringing a pot of water to a boil. 8 out of 10, Smiley's World. Ooh, that was good.
Did anyone in this movie do the right thing? 7 out of 10, Chris Bagley.
When someone does the wrong thing and others react the wrong way. 6 out of 10, Woo Chak. Interesting.
Lee's film falls short of its excellent premise. 5 out of 10, Ian Fidel. Infidel.
Maybe Ian Fidel. Yeah, that's how I would rate it. At least the clothes are cool. 4 out of 10. Always something.
Yeah, because 1989, they were really getting into their, like 87, 88, they were getting away from that 80s and heading towards that, not grunge. They were heading towards like very bright, poppy 90s.
Lots of patterns.
Like pop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Highly offended and wish I didn't see it. 3 out of 10. DeVries Arthur?
Sure. I don't like it. 2 out of 10. Joshua C96.
And I mean, it's not a lot of words, but he makes his point.
He does.
I don't
Clear
like
and
it.
concise, to the point.
I don't care what you say. I don't fucking like it. Leave me alone. Here we go. We will take turns at a 1 out of 10. This movie had quite a few, not like Stand By Me, and near in the middle, it kept going down, and then it would probably went higher if there were not for quite a few 1 out of 10s.
Yeah.
Do the Right Thing. Avoid this movie. Goon 2. That's a white guy.
I think the name says it all. I only watched it because of class. Kay Plecken.
Remember those movies you only watched because your teacher made you watch them? Spike Lee's contempt for white America on display. Daggett's.
Daggett's white. No way this movie is not racist. Ashley Poole, 56. She's probably white too.
Do the Right Thing and label this as a hate film. Junk as a super fan.
Yeah. Stupid with no plot. Sandra Duran to 80.
Yeah. Some people didn't like it.
He gets that.
Yeah. All right. So there are our reviews. We took a look at all the stuff in the box office. So let's take a look at Do the Right Thing trailer and then make our predictions.
Ooh-wee. It's gonna be a scorcher today.
Universal Pictures presents a new film from Spike Lee.
Good morning, Miss Mother Sister.
Now, Mookie, don't work too hard today. The man says it's gonna be hot as the devil.
I've been here 25 years. The South's famous pizzeria is here to stay.
Trust me.
Mookie, the last time I trusted you, we ended up with a son.
I know you can't stand it. You can't stand it.
Hey, Sal, I'm gonna brothers on the wall here.
You want brothers on the wall?
Love.
You get your own place. You can do what you want to do.
What I tell you about that noise? What I tell you about them pictures?
You talk to him, brother, talk to him.
You the man.
No, you the man.
No, you the man.
No, you the man. The first time you turn your back, boom. Right here, man, in the back. Y'all take a chill. You like to sign a petition to boycott Sal's famous pizzeria?
Hear me, what you ought to do is boycott that no-good barber that messed up your head.
And that's the double truth.
Fight the power. Fight the power.
You know, deep down inside, I think you wish you were black.
Who told you to step on my sneakers? Who told you to walk on my side of the block? Who told you to be in my neighborhood? I own this brownstone. Who told you to buy a brownstone on my block, in my neighborhood, on my side of the street? I can't even hear myself think.
From Spike Lee, director of School Days and She's Gotta Have It.
Good people, please. If we don't stop this and stop it now, we're going to do something we're going to regret for the rest of our lives.
Doctor?
Come on, what?
Always do the right thing.
That's it?
That's it.
I got it. I'm gone.
There we have it. I also remember Spike Lee, and this is not a bad thing either, but a lot of his movies looked very guerrilla, independent,
yes,
very indie shot sometimes. It kind of became a style where that's just what he liked to do, I guess.
Yeah, where it almost made the audience feel like they were in the scene with him.
Yeah.
Or with the characters, like you were there, because it doesn't look like a stationary camera. It doesn't look like it was on a dolly or it was, on a crane. It was very much like somebody's holding it like right there. So you feel kind of more involved. I think this is why a big reason why I liked the movie back then, because it was so different from a lot of the film styles that I had seen. And I was like, this is new. This is exciting. This is interesting. I think I'm going to like it, but I also think it's going to make me think really hard and examine things. And then it's going to be one of those movies that I have to watch again just to make sure I got everything.
I might have to buy it.
I might have to buy it. I'm not mad about it if I do, but
no. I think I'm going to like it. I remember liking it. I saw Samuel Jackson in there. It still looks good. This is great. I'm looking forward to seeing 2 movies. Well, I'm always looking forward to seeing the movies we watch, but these ones, especially with the reviews, like,
oh yeah. I'm excited and a little bit fearful because I'm going to feel like an asshole if I don't like these movies.
Yeah, if you don't like this one, you're a racist. All right, we're going to go watch Do the Right Thing. And when we come back, we're going to review it.
Go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
And now, on with the show.
All right, welcome back, everyone. And did you watch the very 90s looking Do the Right Thing from 1989?
Yes, I did.
And what are your thoughts, initial thoughts?
Holy shit balls. Like, it was a sneak attack. And I loved it. It made me feel all the feels. And then I was like, this is why Spike Lee's kind of fucking genius. Because you're just riding along in this movie. You're riding along with it. And you're like, I get that. Look at you. You're showing us the juxtapositions. You're showing us, the natural like division in this neighborhood that seems kind of cohesive, but it's not really. And the underlying things. And you're like, yeah, you're just rolling along. And then all of a sudden, it hits you with the last like 30 minutes of the movie. Just fucks you up. And you're just like, it's a lot to digest, but so good. What are your thoughts?
Okay, let me explain this whole race issue so everyone can understand. As a white man, no, I really liked it. I forgot a crap load. I had a couple problems with some things, but it's more of a filmmaking complaint. But how young everyone fucking looked.
Dude, they were all super fresh.
Esposito as bugging out. I'm like, holy shit. Billy Nunn as Radio Raheem.
Yeah.
Oh my, even John Turturro and Richard Edson. Like, I'm like, Spike Lee kind of still looks the same. Everyone else was like, oh my God. You look so young.
So crazy because you see them all and you're just like, holy shit. Y'all are so young.
Yeah.
Which I mean makes sense.
And this wasn't a movie I watched a lot. It did come across at times as amateurish, not amateurish, indie. Indie is a better word. But yeah, the cast was great. I loved and hated the ending. The reviews, good and bad, were right. As weird as that sounds. This movie doesn't give you any answers. It presents the day in Brooklyn, what happened, and that was it. He tagged on a Martin Luther King and a Malcolm X thing at the end, but it was like, all right, there it is. Discuss amongst yourselves.
But that was the bookend. That was the bookend. And I was like, God, that's so fucking smart. Because the 2 quotes that he picked were very much like, it was also a theme throughout the movie.
Yeah.
With Smiley like constantly putting in Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. or Dr. Martin Luther King. And it was just like, you're just like it was great storytelling.
Yeah, and I
And
agreed with a lot of the black people in this, and I agreed with a lot of the Italian people in the not everything, but I mean they all had points, and they
yeah,
were all wrong at points. And so yeah, no, I enjoyed the movie.
and
I had fun.
honestly, I think, and it's sad that this is still an issue today, but I mean it's going to be an issue for a ridiculously long time. We do not live in, Star Trek Next Generation times, so it's but it's a great kind of examination of it all. And it shows like the simple fact that you can agree with almost everybody at some point during this movie.
Yeah.
At some point during this movie, even you can agree and disagree with damn near everybody. And you have that moment and you're just like, this is why there are so many layers and it can be so complicated. And you learn that and you feel it and you're like, okay. And then when the ending hits, you're like, this is all just a super fucking hot mess. And you can kind of pick out who's wrong ish. But at the same time, you're like, how did we get here?
Yeah, yeah. The point, what
Yeah.
happened to get to that point?
Yeah. And then you see it. Like he shows you everything that happened that got you to that point, but you're still like, this is too much. And then it almost forces you to continue to look at it and examine it. And it was a lot, yo. It was a lot.
All right, well, let's go over this movie. 25-year-old Mookie lives in Bedford with his sister Jade, has a toddler son named Hector with his Latina girlfriend Tina, and works as a delivery man at a local pizzeria owned by Italian-American Salvatore Sal. Jesus. Sal.
Isn't it Frangioni?
Yeah, let's say it's Frangioni. That sounds right.
But is it?
Italian. It's the Frangone. Frangioni. Yeah, that sounds right.
Wait. I'm gonna see his full name.
Let's put a little mozzarella on it.
IMDb, it's just Sal.
Oh.
What's that? God damn it, IMDb. Give me a full name. Anyways.
Fragoni. I don't know. His oldest son, Pino, is a racist who holds racial contempt for all the neighborhood blacks, including Mookie. Sal's younger son, Vito, is friends with Mookie, which Pino feels undermines their fraternal bond. Okay, so this movie starts off as a comedy. Not a comedy, but just a day in the life of this one part of town. Basically a block.
I think you're skipping over the most important part.
Rosie Perez dancing.
Rosie Perez dancing.
Yeah, when she ain't talking, she's pretty good.
Shut up. I love her when she's talking.
I know why Mookie didn't go around all the time. He only went around once a week.
Yeah, because she was trying to get him to actually be an adult and not just show up once a week.
He was always
like,
shh, don't speak.
Yes, well, he was a bit of a dick.
He was a bit of a dick in this movie, but he also made a lot of good points.
Yeah, he did.
But he was a bit of a dick.
He was. Also, Rosie Perez Shadow for being the choreographer on In Living Color. She is the reason for the Fly Girls. Thank you. She's a cultural icon.
And she was a Fly Girl too.
She was a Fly Girl, yeah, but she was mostly the choreographer.
I wonder if her and J-Lo got along.
I highly doubt it.
No.
Highly doubt it.
And okay, other residents of the neighborhood include friendly drunk, the mayor, mother sister who observes the block from her brownstone. I love brownstones. I know they're great, and you see them in a lot of older sitcoms and stuff like 227.
Yeah,
they're awesome.
I've always wanted to live in a brownstone. I can't afford any of the brownstones anywhere in New York or any of the 5 boroughs, but I mean, it's fine.
No. Not even now in Brooklyn or anywhere. No,
not a chance.
Or Radio Raheem, who blasts Public Enemy's Fight the Power. Yeah, that song got in my head.
It totally got in my head, and let me tell you,
my daughters were not impressed.
What?
Any question? No, any question. I just start singing Fight the Power. they'd be playing their Nintendo Switches, and I'd slap it out of their hands. Fight the power. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Well, it was funny
Fight
because
the power, man.
about halfway through the movie, I realized, I was like, that's the only song he plays.
Yeah, it's it. Well, that's when bugging out. Oh, it said like, do you play anything else? He's like, why?
Yeah.
Public Enemy's awesome.
And it was like valid.
He's not wrong.
No, he's not. Not at all. But still, I was like, interesting choice. I like it.
Bugging out, a fast-talking young man who talks about black civil rights to anyone who'll listen. Smiley, a mentally disabled man who meanders around town with a hand-colored pictures of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. And local DJ, Mr. Senior Love Daddy. So, and the movie does it very showing everybody, giving a bit of screen time to all the different characters. And this Wikipedia has forgot. I loved the three guys just sit around and talk and shitting on each other and talking shit about everyone in the neighborhood.
Yep.
Didn't give a shit about white, black, nothing. And then anyone who tried to talk to him about anything, they just made fun of.
100%.
What was this? How do I not? I must have wrote it down. The middle guys, sweet
Dick Willie.
Sweet Dick Willie. Yeah, he was my favorite. When he goes over,
I kind of liked Coconut Sid.
Coconut Sid was that the guy from Africa or the Jamaican?
The Jamaican.
Yeah, he was pretty good too.
Yeah.
And I'd like, but Sweet Dick Willie, like, and when he's like, I'm going to get a beer, and the Korean guy's out there sweeping, he's like, hey, Kung Fu, get in there. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
And then he's like, no free beer. No free beer.
During the day, local teenagers open a fire hydrant to beat the heat wave before white police officers Mark Ponte and Gary Long intervene. Yeah, Wikipedia is pretty good with the names here. I didn't even know their first names.
Neither did I.
Go ahead. Oh
no, I didn't know their first names.
And that is, if sitcoms taught me anything, this was a common thing. When it's hot, you just turn that fire hydrant, and
it was apparently
being a rural kid. There were no fire hydrants.
We had fire hydrants. There's one like across, like not that far from my house. It's like across the street and maybe like 2 parking spots over. But we didn't crack those open.
Never cracked them open? No,
because we had hoses and like things at the front of our house. So we would just hook up a hose, and then we had sprinklers on everybody's like postage stamp size yards. And that's how we stayed cool. Or we would just hose people down. Whatever. Same difference.
Yeah. After calling Tina on a payphone, Mookie confronts Pino about his contempt towards African Americans. Later, Pino expresses a hatred for African Americans to Sal, who insist on keeping the business in the majority of African American neighborhoods. Okay, so yeah, we get Sal comes across very what's the word I'm looking for? Like, he has a reason for being there. That's where he started, and like they have that conversation where this is where we are. These people grew up on my food. These kids became older. These older people became over, and he comes across it as a lot of common sense. Where his oldest son, not so much.
His oldest son is like super racist.
Yeah.
Like not just unconscious bias racist, but he's super racist.
And for those listening, let me make a point here. Not completely white, Italian. Not completely white.
He's
super
still
racist
white.
Italian.
He's still white. Okay. It's just, there's this weird, I call it, and this is, but I highly doubt Sal in this movie was an immigrant. His parents probably were, or his grandparents.
Yeah.
Because for that time and for Sal's age, chances are it was his parents who immigrated, or he was very young when he immigrated. So his son was not born in the motherland, just to be clear. But Italian, I call it immigrant white, where you have a strong tie to whatever culture that you come from. So like there's an immigrant in either one generation before you or two, and you still have a lot of that cultural tie. So I can understand Pino being like, I'm Italian, but still, I'm like, you're a white guy. He's a white guy. Italians are white.
It's
I don't
just
care
funny
what you
how
say.
when they win Oscars or get an award, I'm Italian. They do something racist. Oh, all of a sudden they're white.
They're
But
still white when they say they're Italian.
I think Spike Lee did a good job because as racist, and he is racist.
He's got like a simmering hatred for anyone who's apparently not Italian.
Yeah. And I've come from a long line of not very culturally sensitive family from England and Scotland. Spike Lee does do a very good job at showing, not giving a reason why, like that speech where he just wants to be in his own neighborhood among his own friends. Why do we have to come here? They hate us. They hate us. And you're like, okay, so he's been doing this for years and years and they hate him. They hate him. He's white. He's Italian. And you can kind of get, but yeah, he has some colorful language. And you thought DC Cab had some language. You thought Stand By Me had some language. Yeah, this was great.
They were using the language
I
so
loved
often.
it on all sides. All sides.
Well, no, I mean it makes sense.
Yes.
Because I mean, let me tell you, Portuguese people in general, pretty racist. Like they say things where you're like, Jesus Christ, why you gotta say shit like that?
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, I did not grow up in a house that was as overtly racist as some of my friends' homes. Like we had the unconscious bias. There's still language that they use, like sayings in Portuguese that are racist. I mean, it's ingrained. You can't come from a country that was super colonizer and revolutionized and increased the transatlantic slave trade and then move to another country that's a super colonizer and not have like a bunch of racist like themes through education and what it's going to happen. However, the amount of racism coming out of Pino's mouth, I was like,
that's
damn,
a lot.
Dude.
Like he hit
like
I don't think he missed. Because if white people are like I know black people have names for white people and everyone had no one comes close to white people and racism. We're the best at it. So don't even try. And Pino did it. I don't think he missed one racist slur. He hit all of them.
He used the N-word a lot.
A lot.
He used monkey a lot.
Yeah, and chucking and
everything. There was a lot. And I was like, wow, Pino. And Sal, don't get me wrong. I'm sure he had a lot of like mid-level racism in him. But for the most part, he wasn't overtly racist.
No. And he even said, like, you got a lot of hate in you, son.
Yeah. He's like, why do you hate them so much? Like, I don't get it. Because he was sitting there going, I've been in this neighborhood for 25 years. They eat my food every day.
Yeah.
Like, what's the problem? They're fine with me. I'm fine with them. Why are you so pissed?
I did love when they did the fire hydrant and that other Italian came through with his top down and they sprayed him. Cops came along and they're like, well, can you point him out? And you're like, can I point him out? He's like, he's gone.
They ran.
Yeah, they ran.
Well, do you know their names? Joe and Mo.
Yeah, like he would know their names.
I was like, oh my God. But the cops are just like, so do you want to make a report?
And I noticed Martin Lawrence there.
Yes, Martin Lawrence was there.
And still getting made fun of his ears, even in this movie.
100%.
Right from the beginning of his career, the poor fucker. Always on his ears.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I wonder if that was actually written into the script or it was ad-libbed. He was like, did Spike Lee actually say, like, well, now that we've, like, cast him, we need to crack a joke about his ears?
Yeah, it must have been. Actually, I never thought of that. Yeah, because he probably didn't write that in the original script. And then, no, we need someone with really big ears.
They're like, we've got Martin Lawrence. Let's change that jab to being about his ears. Mind you, all of those guys were dicks.
Yeah.
The only one I liked was the young teenage girl. She was lovely.
Yeah. Yeah. That night, Bugging Out and Raheem. Oh, hold on. Wait a minute. Where am I? This is missing everything.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I was going to say, I'm like, we're jumping quite a bit.
Well, basically, it just starts where Bugging Out is eating his pizza. He's looking at the wall.
Yeah.
It's got Al Pacino. It's got Robert
Frank
De Niro,
Sinatra,
Frank
Robert
Sinatra.
De Niro,
Yeah. He's like,
John
"Hey, Sal."
Travolta.
John Travolta.
I looked up that one. I'm not going to lie. I was like, is John Travolta Italian? It's like grandfather was Italian or something.
Yeah. And he's like, Sal, why are there no brothers on the wall? And Sal's like, you want brothers? Open up your own joint. You can put whoever you want on your wall. And I'm thinking he's right.
Yeah.
I don't know how many places I've been to, especially in the cities, where you walk into and it's kind of like whatever they're into or whatever their culture is. That's what it portrays.
Yeah.
It's just yeah.
I mean, I was sitting there and I was like, I mean, these are people who haven't necessarily been there to that pizza place. They're just Italian American, like, celebrities, which makes sense at an Italian pizzeria owned by an Italian American who runs it. I'm like, why is he going to put he's putting his people on the wall? And he had a valid point where he's like, you want brothers on the wall?
Yeah,
get your own place. Yeah. You can put them on the wall.
So he argues with them. Sal refuses, feeling he's not required to put anyone but Italians on the wall. He says, but he ejects Bugging Out, and he boycotts him.
Yeah, Mookie. Mookie takes him outside.
Yeah,
and he's like,
bans him.
Don't come back for a week. And Bugging Out's like, a week. It's like, man, why are you starting shit? Why are you starting shit? Like, that was basically Mookie's like, why? Look, this is where I work. Can you not start shit?
And then he's trying to get everyone to boycott Sal's, and everyone's like, are you out of your mind?
I eat there all the time. Yeah. Why would I boycott them?
And that's where you get the three guys sitting there, and the one's like, you know who you should be boycotting? The guy who did that to your fucking head.
That was fucking awesome. You should boycott your barber for messing up your head.
Okay, during the day, local teenage... Oh, no, I'm already there. So...
But the fire hydrant is where we first meet the cops.
Yes.
So they come, the big white guy, Officer Long, I think, who was played by Rick Aiello.
Yeah, and who he's been in, like, this movie had so many actors in it. It was it was incredible.
Rick Aiello is Danny Aiello's son. So but he's been in a lot, apparently. He's been in some stuff. I'm like, good for you, man. Anyways, he goes to close down the fire hydrant, and he warns everybody this better not open up again, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
And Officer Punt is taking the report on the Italian guy that got splashed.
Yeah.
So sad. And then they walk away. But that's when you kind of see them. It's minimal interaction. That's when you see them for the first time.
And Wikipedia just skips ahead to the actual riot.
Yeah, so, a lot happens in between.
It's hot. And then we get just introduced to more. We get introduced to the Koreans that own the little...
that own the fruit market.
Grocery. And where the mayor goes in to try to... And he's pissed because they're not carrying his beer. And they're yelling at him, choose another beer. They were funny. Very, I guess, stereotypical, but they're right on because they're immigrants. They just got there. And then you have the conversation. Look, there's Koreans or Asians, whatever they said. They just got here. That building's been empty. Look at how do they open that? Why aren't we opening up a thing? And basically that's what this movie does. Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing more? I did like Samuel L. Jackson's character.
So good.
It jumps around to like little vignettes. Like you get the Puerto Ricans, the 5 Puerto Rican guys, and then you get the 4 black kids with the 1 girl, and it's just everyone's trying to make it through this hot day.
Yeah, it's sweltering hot. This is before the time of central air everywhere. And this is a neighborhood that's definitely more working class.
Yeah.
They are not, living with window air units in every room.
You see some of them have fans.
A lot of them have fans.
Yeah.
There's the scene of like the sister where Mookie comes home to like take a shower mid-shift.
Yeah.
I'm like, if only. And the sister's literally just standing in front of the fan, like lifting her dress to get air underneath it. She's like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "I'm going to take a shower." "Oh, is this one of your 2-hour lunches? This is the only job you've been able to hold down." So you get little glimpses into everybody's lives.
Yeah.
And you kind of see where everybody is at and what their role is in the neighborhood. And I really like that. But you also got to see like where the beefs are, because like, Radio Raheem like starts walking by the Puerto Ricans just as Samuel L. Jackson plays some Latin music. He's playing some salsa, and Radio Raheem walks up with his public enemy, Fight the Power, and they have a volume battle.
Yeah.
That the Puerto Ricans lose.
Yeah.
So Fight the Power wins.
He had the better boombox.
Yeah, he had the better boombox. It is what it is. And he's like, "Yeah, man." And that's it. And he like walks away.
And I'm liking Mookie for the most part. And then you're like realizing, oh, wait, Mookie's got like a girlfriend and a kid. It doesn't look like he's taking care of her and the kid
He's
at all.
not.
Like at all.
Not even a little bit.
Yelling at the grandmother to teach his kid more English.
Yeah, my kid speaks English. Then you should be there to teach him.
Yeah.
Oh, what's that? You only show up once a week to basically hook up with your baby mama and then you leave? I'm like, treat the girl with a little more respect. Also, I thought we were totally going to make it through this movie without any nudity when they were doing that little scene.
No,
I was like,
Perez's boobies.
He was really shooting it though. So I was like, oh, we're not going to see anything. I was like, this is so creative. This is so, and then all of a sudden titties. And I was like, oh, we were so close.
No, that was probably an add-on too by Spike Lee.
I don't know if it was an add-on, but I was like, and there's Rosie Perez's titties, or not her titties, if she used a titty double.
After she did that in 1989, after she did that dance, Spike Lee was probably, you know what? I need some ice cubes, and we need to see Rosie Perez's boobies.
Well, no, you had to see like why Rosie Perez is apparently in this. Why Tina? Because Rosie Perez wouldn't put up with this shit. Why Tina put up with this shit with Mookie, where he only shows up once a week.
Yeah.
And he's not really taking care of his child. And of like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I highly doubt he's, paying. Like the girl is still living with her mother.
Yeah.
In an apartment with her son. He's living with his sister.
Yeah. I don't know who I was more mad at, her or him. You're not taking care of, but you're still like.
Yeah. I was like, guys, is this really like, I understand if you're a single parent and you need to take care of your kid for basically the entire time. Yeah, you're going to need support. I'm like, why is Mookie sleeping on his sister's couch? Why is he not working harder to get an apartment with his supposed girlfriend?
Yeah, because I think, does she have a job? I don't think it's
we never see her working, nor do we talk. But I mean, his sister, who apparently pays the rent, we don't see her working or going to her job.
No,
Mookie's the only one.
Was a Saturday. It was a Saturday.
Oh yeah, there we go.
That's why everyone was like. But he was making $250 a week, 1989. Not super great or anything, but
no, plus tips.
Plus tips. Like I'm pretty sure if she had a job too, you could probably get a small little apartment.
You could get a small like 1-bedroom,
like the one that she was living in with her mom.
Yeah,
it was not a big place.
No, it was not, and that kitchen was small. But yeah, no, it was one of those things where I kind of liked Mookie, but I was like, Mookie, you're giving me irresponsible here. And I'm not thrilled about that. Taking 2-hour breaks, showering in the middle of the day, stopping to have sex with your girlfriend when you're delivering a pizza. I mean,
using the phone, the actual phone where people call in, and Pino is like get off the phone. And then as soon as he hangs up, it rings in an order.
And then he's like, see, Pops, you see? People are trying to call in and place orders, and he's on the phone. He's just on the phone talking.
Then we get Mookie's sister Jade comes to the pizza place, and obviously that Sal has a crush on. I don't know if it was a crush or this was more of a "you remind me of my daughter" type thing. it leaned more towards the crush thing because that's what the vibe I got, and that's definitely the vibe Mookie got.
I feel like Jade has a little bit of, but there's different kinds of like crushes or flirtations. Like there's the flirtation where it's like, you know what, he talks to me like I'm pretty and I like it. I talk to him like he's cutie and he likes it. Nothing's ever gonna happen.
I get
It's
a free
weird
pizza.
to think I get free pizza or I get my favorite cream soda. Like it's one of those I think it felt more like that where it was like they just like talking to each other and they kind of like half-ass flirt,
Yeah.
but not like flirt, you know? It's like, no, I'm gonna make you a special pizza. And you're like, oh my God, thank you. We've all done that. I don't know if you've done that. But
I
you know,
tried.
you
It did not work.
you just weren't cute
Ever.
enough.
No.
But that's what it felt like to me, like where it was never gonna come to fruition. Like it wasn't actually a like hardcore crush. It's just like it's a nice little banter, a little back
Yeah.
and forth. It even when they were sitting in the booth together, Sal's like leaning back, like away from her, and she's just sitting there eating her pizza. She like whatever.
Yeah, it's not like he was like checking her out or like
Yeah,
trying to
like
look
he
in her
wasn't
eyes.
being
Yeah.
sleazy or he wasn't leaning in real close. It was very much like, oh, I just like sitting and talking with you. Like that's it. Mookie was like, stay the fuck away from you're never coming here again. And she's like, fuck you, I'm gonna eat my pizza. He makes it special.
And we get the mayor saving the little kid.
Yeah.
Then the mother beating the little kid because he wasn't watching what he was doing.
I mean, I would have gotten a beating for the same thing.
Yeah, probably.
Also for lying to my mother, because he didn't mention that he was just about to get hit by a car when he got pushed to the side by the mayor. And then when the mayor tells him, and then it's like, is that what happened? Is that like, I think the beating was more for lying to mama. And I'm like, I would have gotten a beating for that 100%.
Yeah.
You didn't lie unless you could absolutely get away with it.
So up until this point, the movie is very I like what the movie has done. I like the little vignettes. I liked all the characters. It could have ended this way. It could have ended on it, and I would have enjoyed this film. It does take a very dark turn.
Yes.
And now we're back to where Wikipedia picks up. So Bugging Out has been complaining about all this the whole day, gets more mad, and he gets Raheem to go with him. So that night, Bugging Out and Raheem march into Sal's and demand that the Wall of Fame include black celebrities. Sal demands that Raheem turn his boombox off, but he refuses. Actually, that's not the first time. The first time he goes in, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
He's like, I would be, if I was Sal, I'd be fucking pissed too, because he comes in with the boombox blaring.
Yeah, and he has to scream his order of 2 slices.
Yeah. It's like, dude.
So I understand Sal being like, turn it off and I'll serve you. Like,
yeah.
There's no music here. And it's funny because he says there's no music, no rap, no music, no music.
Yeah.
And I was like, interesting, but okay. We're gonna roll with that. But yeah, in earlier in the film, Raheem does turn off his boombox so that he can get his 2 slices of pizza. And Sal's like, thank you. Was that so hard?
Yeah, exactly. So they go in that night. Sal demands Raheem turn his boombox off again, but he refuses, Bugging Out badmouths Sal and threatens to shutter the pizzeria for good. Finally, Sal snaps and smashes Raheem's boombox with a bat. In rage, Raheem attacks Sal. A fight ensues that spills out onto the street, attracting a crowd. The police arrive, including Long and Point, who break up the fight and apprehend Raheem and Bugging Out. As the officers attempt to restrain Raheem, Long begins choking him with the nightstick. Though Ponte and the onlookers plead for him to stop, Long tightens his chokehold on Raheem, killing him. Attempting to save face, the duo place his body in the back of the police car and drive off.
There's a lot in that, like, because the back and forth between Raheem, Bugging Out, and Sal goes for a while.
Yeah.
And they are heated and they are going back and forth. Sal does snap and like basically breaks. And it's funny because he's called Radio Raheem. So that's a huge part of his identity. So Sal takes a baseball bat to it And then Raheem snaps and he's like, the fuck? And really attacks him, starts choking him, takes him out into the street. And people are trying to pull him off of Sal.
Yeah.
It is not happening. He's got a chokehold on him so tight. And people are also just watching, also joining it. Like it's a weird, it becomes almost like a mob mentality thing where everybody gets rushed up into it. And then the cops show up. And Officer Pont's the one that's like, I think it was it Gary? Okay, Gary, that's enough. Gary,
Yeah.
that's enough. Gary, that's enough. And then when they realize what happened, they're like, we got to get him out of here. So they just like pick him up and toss him into the back seat. But when he's choking Raheem, I had such a visceral reaction because it's a straight on shot.
Oh, he's like being hung.
It's a close up, and then you see his feet and they're off the ground, and you're just like, oh my God. Oh my, but this is also because earlier in the movie, the cops come into Sal's to grab lunch.
Yep.
And they grab, I guess, some sandwiches. And they're like, when are you going to leave?
Yeah.
Why do you want to be here? And it was mostly Officer Long who was like, why do you even want to be in this neighborhood? Like, nobody wants to be here. And you're kind of like, that's odd. That's a red flag. So when it happens later on, you're like, oh, I knew that guy was no good. I knew he was. But like, Spike Lee doesn't move away from it. He goes in and he's like, you're going to watch this. You're going to see this. You cannot turn away. And it was like I had a visceral reaction to it. And I was like, holy shit. This is a lot. But you can't turn away. Like, you're entranced by it. You're like, I have to watch it. I have to see it. And I have to see how this culminates.
The onlookers blame Sal for Raheem's death, but the mayor unsuccessfully tries to convince the crowd of Sal's innocence. Yes, the mayor was he was the voice of reason throughout the movie quite a bit. And he was right that Sal did not do it. But then again, you look at it because of what happened. Like, it's very clever the way it was done. You can go back to see where maybe it was Sal's fault, but then you can go back and see where they came in again with the radio blasting. So maybe it was his fault. Then you can go back to bugging out. Maybe it was his fault, but then you go back to Sal. Why couldn't you?
Then you go back to Pino.
Yeah.
And maybe it's honestly,
you could blame Pino for everything.
But that's just it. It's like, when the mayor starts talking, he's like, it's the cops that did it.
Yeah.
It's like, because honestly, would it have sucked for Raheem to get arrested? Yes, 100%. Would he still be alive? Yes, 100%. Ultimately, it was the cop. No matter what happened leading up to it. And I think that's what's really important, is that the one voice is the mayor saying, you know what? It's the cops' fault.
Yeah.
It's the cops who did it. But everybody's just so into it because they're like, well, if Sal hadn't done that to the radio, to his boombox, none of this would have happened.
Yeah.
And you can keep going step by step to see where it really began. And personally, I think it began when Sal asked Pino to sweep the sidewalk and he refused. Because I'm like, you start seeing the seeds of like the resentment, the back and forth, because then the thing that really starts almost the riot is Mookie kind of losing his shit.
Yeah, it's actually that's right here. Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead. Let's get into that.
Oh no, it's just
Mookie loses his shit.
Mookie yeah. Good Wikipedia. Mookie grabs a trash can and throws it through the pizzeria's window, sparking the crowd to destroy it. Smiley sets the building ablaze. Yeah, here, sweet old Smiley, fucking firebug.
He got pulled into the rush of anger that Bugging Out had. So Bugging Out and Radio Raheem are getting worked up, but Bugging Out's really working to like work him up and be like, this is our neighborhood and we should be on those walls. We're the ones eating there, blah, blah, blah. And Smiley gets worked up with them. And you can see it because it's like, oh God, what was it? Oh, I don't remember what the phrase was, but it was like, yeah, we're going to kick his ass. We're 2 times. And then Smiley's like 3 times.
Three
Yeah.
times. Yeah.
So like he's joining in on this. And so all 3 of them walk into the pizzeria angry. And then the fight breaks out. Raheem gets killed by a cop. Straight up for no good goddamn reason. He gets killed by a cop. But Mookie, in his like snap, one thing I realized, I was like, I don't know if he just lost his mind, because what he actually does is he walks over to the garbage can, he takes off the lid, pulls out the garbage bag, puts it on the side, and then he picks up the empty garbage can, and that's what he throws through the window.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so he's still got some logic. Like, this is not a rage moment, but it's like a quiet rage. And I'm like, oh, that's a choice. That's an interesting choice.
Yeah.
Like, now I kind of want to sit down with Spike Lee and be like, tell me about the garbage can, because like, what was your motivation behind it? Because I can guess, but it doesn't really. Anyways, so he throws the garbage can through, and then that basically signals to everyone in the crowd to run into the pizzeria
And just
destroy it.
Because just before that, Sal was like, "Oh, we had a great night, and this is why it's one of the reasons I love working and being here."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Mookie, you always have a job here." Does say you're like a son to me. Seems like a stretch,
but I mean, if you've worked in that neighborhood for 25 years, and those people have lived in that neighborhood for 25 years, you start feeling like everybody's your kid.
Yeah.
Or everybody's your cousin, everybody's a family member. So it feels very, and then just the way everybody turned on Sal, which I get, because when you see it, you see Raheem was killed because of Sal and their fight.
Yeah.
So they needed some place to place their rage, and Sal's Pizzeria got it. Demare moves them off to the side and like puts them behind a fence.
Yep.
In someone's front yard.
Yeah. And then they're going to go in. Yeah, the mayor pulls Sal, Pino, and Vito away from the mob, which then turns towards the Korean market across the street, and they're going to destroy that. Sonny, the owner, eventually dissuades the group. Yeah, he's like, "I'm just like you. I'm just like you."
Well, he says, "I'm black." And they're like, No. We're black. He goes, No. We're the same. And then someone's like, hey, yeah, he's got a point.
He's not white.
He's not white. Like,
he's not white.
He did not. He does not get the benefits of being a white man in this country. So they were like, no, valid, okay. And he's like, Sonny's like, thanks, man. I'm just gonna quietly go back to my market.
Yeah, protecting it with his broom. The police return with the fire department and riot patrols to extinguish the fire and disperse the crowd. The firefighters, after several warnings to the crowd, turn their hoses on the mob, further enraging them and causing more arrests. The next day, after arguing with Tina, Mookie returns to Sal and demands his weekly pay. This was a good scene, actually. After an argument, Sal pays Mookie and the two cautiously reconcile. Yeah, he gives him an extra couple $100, but throws it at him. And then he throws 200 back. I owe you 50.
Yeah.
And they have all this arguing, and they both make valid points. But then Sal is like, it's gonna be hotter today. What are you gonna do today?
It's a weird, and I took this as almost there's a lot that I feel about this movie, because one of the things I wanted to point this out, they were actually, because when I was watching the riot, when the cops and the fire department show up, before the people on the street get hit with the hoses, they were chanting something, and I was super confused because I couldn't really distinguish what they were chanting. So I looked it up. They were actually chanting Howard Park.
Oh, okay.
Because this movie was done and almost inspired by the story of a black man that was killed by the cops in Howard Park, and nothing was really done about it. So his name was actually, Howard Beach. That's the Queens neighborhood where Michael Griffith, who is 23 years old, was killed by the cops. So that was what they were chanting. And I was like, oh. And his name was also at the end of the movie because it lists people who were killed by black people who were killed by cops. So I was like, oh, that's very deep. But then you see, like, Sal's life is up in flames. It's gone now. Mookie shows up and he's like, you got to pay me. So Sal's like, here's $500. You're rich now. Great.
Yeah.
And they have this like almost fight about it, and they're throwing money at each other. And then Sal's just kind of like, it's going to be hotter today. Yeah. and Mookie's like, yeah, it is. All right. Well, you take care. You too. Yeah. See you later. And you're just sitting there and you're like, what the fuck? But then you're like, that's kind of what happens every day when minorities end up being the recipients of violence or being killed by cops. Everybody just moves the fuck on the next day.
Yeah.
Like no real change happens. It just kind of, you're like, well, that was really shitty. Well, now that that's been said, we're just going to move on with our day. So, and there's no real change to the system and to the thing. And then I kind of had a moment where I was like, holy shit, it's still like that. Like years, 35 years later, it's still like that. Where like this, like I was like, oh God. So this movie kind of made me feel like shit about the world again. And I'm like, God, this movie is still valid today. Jesus Christ.
I also took that ending as that's also how families. You argue, you scream, you throw shit at each other, and then by the end of it, you're like, it's supposed to be hotter today. It's.
I mean, for us, there's a longer period of silence, but I know this movie couldn't go on for 4 weeks. But that's just my family. But no, I think it is. I think it's something that I also think Sal understood. Like Mookie's rage, and Mookie understood Sal's sadness. Like, I think they understood where they were coming from because Sal's like, I have nothing. Like, my business went up in flames. Yeah. There's nothing. I built this thing with my own hands, as he tells Mookie.
You have the insurance money, and he's like, I don't give a shit about the money. I built this. This is, I've been here. This is like my life.
Yeah. He was like, I tiled this. Every electrical socket I put in with these hands. And he was holding his hands and fists, which I was like, ooh, good choice. Like, interesting. And Mookie is basically like, you know what? And they killed Raheem. Like, this is, and you see where like the rage and the sadness, and it all stems from just that moment where Raheem is gone.
Yeah.
Like killed in the street. And then just moved away. No respect. And you see where it kind of like crosses, but it's like, oh God, I had all the feel. And then they just kind of like, I think they understood each other. Like they both cracked, they both lost it. And at that point, they're like, I get it. Like, I get why you're feeling how you're feeling. I get why you're feeling how you're feeling. And then they just kind of moved on. Yeah. And it's a tentative move on because it started with the weather.
Yeah. And then we get the DJ on the radio talking about the weather coming. And then we get the two quotes from Martin Luther King and Malcolm X in Fades to Black. And that is our movie.
Also, we can point out that the two quotes, Martin Luther King was very nonviolent.
Very nonviolent.
And Malcolm X was like, sometimes you need violence. Sometimes you need violence.
He put a little violence in his quote.
Yeah. Sometimes violence is appropriate. And then Martin Luther King's like, we don't need violence. It discredits us. And then Malcolm X is like, no. Sometimes you need to be violent. And I'm like, ooh, beautiful.
So what is your score for Do the Right Thing 1989?
Okay.
I wish we could play Fight the Powers.
I know, right?
And Stand By Me when we were doing the score. Fucking.
My score, and I need to say this because this is the reason why I think this is a movie everybody should see. I don't think it's a movie everybody can see. So I'm going to say rent it because it is such a well done movie. Like in my heart, I want you to buy it. But in my soul, I know not everybody's going to be able to watch this and be okay.
Or watch it repeatedly.
Or watch it repeatedly. This movie really needs like a proper trigger warning where it can be like very traumatizing. And I didn't remember how focused Raheem's murder is. I didn't remember how steady and like focused on it the film was. So it really kind of like hit me really hard. And I was like, I can deal with this. I don't think everybody can. So I put this out with a warning where I'm like, this is an incredible movie. It's going to take me a while. Like, I want to see it again because so many good choices and so many interesting choices were made in the process, both in the filmmaking, in the acting. Like, it's a very well done movie. Very, very well done. For 1989, this was a very different style of movie. It was a little groundbreaking. It was very new to people. So that was also interesting choices. But honestly, those last 30 minutes can really fuck a person up. So I'm not saying buy it just for that reason. That I don't know if people can watch this multiple times. This may be a once, but you really got to examine the impact that it had on you. But it is so worth the rental. Like, even if the rental was $10, I'd be like, pay it. $15 rental, pay it. It's not. But if it was, I'd be like, it's worth the money. It's worth it. It's just, I don't know if people can really, like, I won't be able to watch it for a while. Like, to be perfectly honest, I won't be able to watch it for a while. Because, like, I had a visceral reaction to the last 30 minutes of this movie. Like, visceral. So, for me, I'm like, I'm not ready to watch it again. Will I watch it again? Yes. Is it something I'm going to put in a regular rotation for myself? No. Because this was, it hit me hard. But it was really good. It was really, really good. It's just, it'll fuck you up, yo. It'll fuck you up. So by all means, rent it. It's worth the money. It's worth the watch. I just don't know if it's something that people should handle on a repeated watch. That's my score. What's your score?
My score. I like this movie. Some of the shots, like I said, were jarring. The way he shot it, it was very, very indie-ish looking at times, and it was very new in 1989. And I don't know if it was on purpose or if that's the way he directs, but I think it's more the way he directs. He likes that. Yeah. Kind of like you said, it puts you on level field with the action that's going on. The cast was great. I couldn't fight the power of my fucking head for it. Like I said, one of my kids was playing it and I slapped it out of her hand. She's like, what the hell? Fight the power. It is still very relevant today. That's sad. It was very cool seeing the 80s morphing into the 90s because the 80s was still in this movie, but it looked very 90s. The standout for me comedy-wise with the three older guys sitting around, but Danny Aiello, holy fuck, can that guy act? He is great. Even John Turturro and Richard Edson, the two brothers. You could tell watching this movie too, Samuel L. Jackson had a presence like right out of the gate.
Yep. He was a good anchor. 80s.
Yeah. And you could tell he was more than just a regular actor. But everyone in this movie, Spike Lee was good. Rosie Perez was hot. That voice. Like I said, I know why Mookie wasn't visiting a lot. Jesus Christ.
Shut up. Shut up. I love her voice.
Yeah, her voice. All right. It's not that bad. So if you remember liking this movie, I am pleased to say you still will. But this is not a movie I could watch repeatedly like you. It wasn't like, if it wasn't such a downer and it was just that day in Brooklyn circa 1989, it'd be a great movie. But would it be as great of a movie if it didn't have that ending? Probably not. Would it spark conversation, debate? No. no, enjoy it to say rent it. This is not something I can pop in a couple months and or have in my regular rotation or say, hey, everybody, let's watch Do the Right Thing. But like you said, I'll watch it again. I will watch it again. It just won't be anytime soon. It'll be down the road.
I actually just thought about this when you were talking about it, because I remember when I was watching it, I was like, oh, it feels like an anthology. It's just a collection of scenes that all take place in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
And the radio DJ is kind of like the narrator who connects the scenes. And then at the end of the movie, for probably the last 30 minutes, everybody comes together.
Yeah.
Everybody is in the last 30 minutes of the movie. Everybody's involved in, you know, not the mob. I don't want to call it the mob, but it is kind of a mob.
It is a mob. Yeah.
Yeah. But initially it was just like people gathering to see what's happening, and then it turns into a mob. But everybody's there. You see everybody in the neighborhood there and involved. And I was just like, wow, that was really, really well done, because you get introduced to everybody.
Yeah.
And you get the feel for everybody. You get the feel for the relationships between everybody. And then they bring you together for this one super traumatizing moment. And then in the aftermath, you get Mookie and Sal, who you've seen through this entire movie with a good chunk of the cast. And you have them kind of finish it off. And you're just like, it's a lot, but it's so well done. And you can kind of see it's a newish kind of vibe for the film look.
Yeah.
I liked it.
If
but
this
it did feel low budget. Budget.
It did feel very lower budget, yes. And a lot of his movies do. Maybe because they are, I don't know. If this movie was just like those vignettes,
yeah,
I would have been fine with it, and I would probably watch it more often. It would not be anywhere near as near as powerful as, and Spike Lee doesn't give you any answers. Like I said, he just shows you the day, what happens, everyone's point of view, and that's it. Deal with it.
Honestly, with Spike Lee is a storyteller at the end of the day. And this story is the story that doesn't have an ending.
No.
Because at that time, it was still going, like stuff like this was still happening, and it was always going to happen. And as I said, like 30 years later, it's still happening today. So there is no ending for this movie. There is no ending, because there's no ending to situations like this, at least not in our near future. Who knows? Maybe we'll get a sequel when there is an ending, and he can finally be like, so yeah, cops aren't randomly killing minorities just because they want to flex their power. Don't get me started on that. That's a whole nother conversation.
But yeah, it's good. Like I said, rent it. It's worth the rental.
Honestly, this is one of those movies that you have a very powerful reaction to. Like, it affects people. How it affects you is very different for everybody. Like, it's a very personal kind of reaction. Yep. You can't tell how people are gonna like react to this movie. And I think that's why it has become almost mythological in film. Like, it's one of those films that, like, when people are just starting to get into movies, you're like, do the right thing. You got to watch it. Because he lulls you into this weird false sense of it's just a neighborhood. It's just a neighborhood. It's just a neighborhood. And then throws this trauma at you. And then you never really recover because there's no real resolution to it. And you're just like, God, that was good. That was a great film. It'll fuck you up, but it was great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Spike Lee.
Yeah, Do the Right Thing 1989 definitely earns its 92% on Rotten Tomatoes and 8 out of 10 on IMDb. It is a fantastic movie. We're scoring movie. We both look at rewatchability. And while I will probably watch this movie again, it's just not going to be. It's not going to be Goonies. It's not going to be Back to the Future. It's not going to be the Avengers Endgame. Like, it's not going to be one of those ones where I'm going to want to watch Star Wars all the time.
But even there are those movies like Steel Magnolias fucks me up every time. Shawshank Redemption fucks me up every time. Like, every time I watch those movies, I get fucked up. But I can watch those more often than I think I can watch this, because this is, you're going to confront this really shitty thing, and I
And it's
won't let
very
you look away.
relatable. Like, not
Yeah.
relatable, but it's very current in our society today.
It is very,
Shawshank
very current.
Redemption is set in the 20s or 30s, wherever it takes place.
And there's a happy ending.
Yeah. And there's a happy ending. But it seems so distant, where
Yeah.
even Do the Right Thing, even today, 30 some odd years ago, it still seems very current.
It's still very current.
That's the big difference.
Is so fucked up.
Yeah.
Can we that's so fucked up. But incredible cast, incredible story.
Yeah. Very well done.
So well done.
Yeah, it was a good movie. Yeah, you won't be rent it. I just wouldn't pay the money because I won't watch this over and over and over again. It's not one of those ways. But I'll visit it again down the road.
Yeah. In a few months, like maybe 6 months. If it's either up for purchase on sale, or if it's let's be real, if it's still up for purchase, or if it's streaming somewhere, I will probably settle in and watch it again.
Yeah, if it ever pops up where it's the same price as the rental, of course I'll buy it.
But even if, like,
I've
I'm thinking
many shitty movies like that, I might as well own one that's really good.
Right? No, but I'm like, you know what? In a few months, I think when I've digested this a little bit more, and I've, dulled the visceral reaction that I've had from this movie, I'll probably try watching it again. It was really, really, really hard to watch that and not feel like your heart's being ripped out. And I just it was I was like, oh my God, I'm going to need to recover from this before I can even consider buying it, because it's a great movie. I'm like, I'm going to need a moment. I'm going to need quite a few moments, because this was a lot. So good, but a lot. And I feel like people need to understand that. Like, this is not, we're going to look at the faces of the crowd while Raheem is being murdered. No. This is, let's watch Raheem be, and it was gut-wrenching. I had a moment. It was a shock mostly. But anyways, it's super good, and you should rent it as long as you know what you're getting into and you can deal with it, because it's a lot. It's a lot. Be ready for it. But it's such a good movie, you should watch it.
All right, so we have 2 rent-its for Do the Right Thing. Next week, we are going to watch Godzilla and Independence Day from the 90s. Should be a bit of difference from Do the Right Thing to Godzilla 1998 and Independence Day.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I am so glad I can turn my brain off next week, because my brain worked overtime on Do the Right Thing. And I'm like, I think I just need, weird shit. That's what I need.
All right. Well, thanks for going back to 1989 with us. And until the next movie we remember liking.
Congratulations. You just had one of your childhood movie memories vindicated. Or they just eviscerated it. I don't know. This is a generic one-size-fits-all type of ending to the podcast. So thank you for listening, and please join Anna and Jimmy next time for another episode of the I Remember Liking That Movie podcast. If you dare to go back and watch that movie you remember liking,